we've been to a lot of them and we've noticed a lot of things. So every trip of ours was a research.
Okay.
So we looked at ambience, we looked at the food, we looked at the menu. All of this was learning for us.
So both of us worked with person with disability hiring. Our heart goes out for them, and we believe that everybody should get that equal opportunity. We chose a few things, and then we made certain changes so that even wheelchair access also there, and then people can come.
Because of the very reason, businesses might be affected.
It's time that we stand what we say and what we preach. Everybody has their own right to follow their own faith and what they believe in. And we believe Christ.
Somebody came up to you and asked, so are you from this religion? Any sort of otherwise discrimination or prejudice that you faced?
Yeah, there are few, okay. And but people from our own faith, sometimes.
And I've also seen that you have a lot of frames over there. So what are they?
A lot of people, they don't even know that you cannot play secular songs without a license in a public place.
Yeah.
So we've got that license as well. So we can do shows.
Hey everybody, welcome to Can't Count Them Presents podcast. This is your host Naveena. I am super duper thrilled and also very hungry because today we're going to eat while we talk, and I'm at the cafe Ruth's Cafe, and I'm going to talk to the couple that's behind Ruth's Cafe, and this is going to be the most candid and most comfortable. So without much further delay, let's get straight into the podcast. Thank you so much Ruth and James for coming to our show. How are you feeling today?
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you
So,
so much.
yeah, shall we get straight into the podcast? Okay, so where did this love for F&B come from? Because you guys were working in the corporate sector earlier, right? And you guys were getting paid very well. But this sudden transition, not just into, entrepreneurship, but in the industry that is so competitive. So how did it all start? Just a quick glimpse into your journey.
Yeah, so it all started with a dream. It was my childhood dream, and somewhere down the line, I think James also had this dream, but in different ways. So it started off then, and then we got busy with life, and but the dream always kept pricking us. And then we decided that while we were working, we'll try doing some research, and that's how we started doing a lot of research over the last 3 years on coffee beans, and we visited a lot of cafes. I think more than 200, 250
Wow.
cafes in the city, and there are a lot of cafes here.
Yeah.
So we've been to a lot of them and we've noticed a lot of things. So every trip of ours was a research.
Okay.
So we looked at ambience, we looked at the food, we looked at the menus, we looked at what they were offering, we looked at the customer service. So all of this was learning for us, and then I think it was time for us to quit our jobs and start. And James also had food businesses earlier. Right after he finished his MBA, he started a food business, and that went well. But again, because of family pressures, they were like, they didn't encourage him enough. So then he had to go back to work, and that's how, it still
Yeah.
was dwelling in his heart, that, this is what we're good at.
Yeah.
This is where our passion is, and that's what we need to do. And even for me, the coffee shop was a very old dream, but it was a very alive. It was very
Fresh, always fresh. Yeah.
always fresh, and always there at the back of my mind, whichever phase we were in. And yeah, so that's how Ruth's Cafe was born.
So you said that long time ago you had your business, right? So how did you even get the courage once again to get into entrepreneurship, despite going through that? It must have been so tough because this is your passion. right? And then one point of time you had to compromise and let go of your dream, then get into the, I don't want to call corporate sector boring, but get into this race of earning big money and all of that. And then suddenly you are again back to your passion. So how did that happen?
So I'll just start off. I grew up in very close by to Tarnaka,
Okay.
a place called Shantinagar. And we stayed there for almost like 35 years and then moved to a different place. So I was born and brought up there. And then what I believed in around the area, we had a lot of friends and a lot of Christian friends, especially. We always had this idea of serving people, and that is what was being taught by my parents also. My dad and my mom were very humble people. Always, they said that always make sure that you treat people well, and this is how you're supposed to grow up. And we grew up in such an environment. I believe that always giving was something what was taught to us.
Yeah.
So my dad or mom were always good givers. They never spoke about it. And so I wanted to always give. So I learned that whether it is any industry. So even I worked as a human resource recruiter, and for almost 15 years.
Yeah.
So the reason why I got into a job like that was also to help people to get jobs and make their careers, which will build their lives.
Yeah.
And I think I might have played around more than 5,000 people and at least helped around 200 plus
Wow.
people to get job for my own people. And I think I still get those calls that we're doing really well. I'm really thankful. And I always had this passion for food, and where I wanted to, I always used to cook for my parents or cousins. Or
Do you still do that?
Yes, I still do that.
So lucky, right?
So
Yeah, he's the one who does all the chicken, mutton at home.
yeah,
At that
all the non-veg I love to cook, and then so I always used to do that. And then a lot of my friends said, "Why don't you start off something? You're good at this." I said, "Yeah, I might not be able to cook, but I want to at least get into business, and I want to serve people some good food."
Okay.
Hyderabad is believed as one of the best places in the world where you get almost every cuisine.
True. Yeah.
Okay, and there are so many beautiful places, amazing places. So back then, I think this was 15 years back when I finished my MBA, and I did my human resources, and people wanted me to get into human resources, but and when my dad, I also had that passion, but I wanted to try one of the food businesses. So I tried, and it went really well. But the only reason, because of my parents' pressure, I said, I had to buy
Yeah.
down, and then I had to get into recruitment or human resources. And then, but this passion always was inside me. I wanted to serve some good food, where there has to be a place and where all the people come together, hang around, chill, and then have some good time, have some fellowship. And this is always in my mind. And when I met Ruth, she also shared her vision. I think right from her school days, where she visited one of her friends in one of the coffee shops. There she realized, okay, she also had wanted to put up a coffee shop. And then we both shared our dreams, and we started doing our research, as she was telling. 3 years, I think it's not even 3 years, it's more than that. Okay, but we started doing it by
Yeah.
Beverage for 3 years. And while we were working with one of the biggest companies
Yeah.
here in Hyderabad, got promoted there, almost were on a very good platform, CPC and everything. But this kept
Yeah.
pricking in our hearts, and then we wanted to come out and then do something. So initially we thought, okay, one person will do this, and then one.
Yeah.
But God's plans are way
Great.
bigger than our plans.
Yes. Yeah.
So we had to had to be here to build this, and then this vision God gave, and I always believe that if He is given a vision, He'll give you the provision.
Wow.
So it's still believing
Yeah.
how our journey started.
Yeah, you uttered the word fellowship in your answer. I mean, the first thing I noticed when I entered is there are a lot of things that are very bold and very evident. You're not beating around the bush. And there are few verses there that I've seen. So are you not afraid that it might also affect your business?
I think, see, to answer that in a very honest way, we're living in a democratic country, and everybody has the right to, praise whichever religion they want to, and their faith is personal to them.
Yeah.
And the reason why, we boldly put that up is because a lot of times when we go to big restaurants, we go to big cafes, whoever is the owner of the cafe, their faith is displayed. It's not about actually creating controversies, but it's about taking a stand. And that, honestly, we don't see in Christianity a lot.
Yes.
And people back down, especially in businesses, they back down because of the very reason, businesses might be affected.
I think it's time that we stand what we say and what we preach. Everybody has their own right to follow their own faith and what they believe in. And we believe Christ, and we want to portray that.
Wow. So has there been any situation where, somebody came up to you and asked, so are you from this religion, and any sort of otherwise discrimination or prejudice that you faced? Any stories like that?
Yeah, there are few, okay, and but people from our own faith sometimes
From our own faith? Okay.
they said, I think this is business. You need to focus more on business, and why don't you do that? Because money is something what you need to make. But I believe that one of the verses from the Bible, like seek ye first the kingdom of God, all these things shall be added unto you. So I think if you honor God, God will honor you.
What do you guys do to ensure that you're striking a balance between, it's very evident, right, that you're believers, like not just for the sake of it, but proper believers. But at the same time, how do you ensure that your conscience is not polarized towards one sector of the society, but, you're showing the equal amounts and the same kind of love to everybody else? I mean, I know that you guys are serving food for everyone, you're catering for everybody, but end of the day, has there ever been situations where you had to consciously take decisions regarding being just with everybody?
And this is a common ground, as she said. This is a secular place. It's just a coffee shop, but I believe God is turning His way. Okay, and we want this place where people can come, have some good time, have some good food, spend some time with their families, take some photos, put it on Instagram. We just want them to be themselves here. They can come jam here. So we have all these instruments, piano, guitars, and all these things. So we've been telling a lot of bands also. You can just come here, hang around, play some music. So just be yourself. So Beats Cafe is just come here. And I can tell you that once people, when they come, they tell us that. There are hundreds of people who told us when we walk into this place, there's so much of peace in this place.
Yeah.
And we pray for that. We want people to have peace because that is something what is missing in this world right now.
Yeah.
And we come from corporates. We work with all the big giants, and then we believe how tensed or how stressful the environment is. And all around this cafe, we have hundreds of companies, all the big giants. And then people come here and they tell us that it's so quiet and it's so nice and peaceful. And in this hustle bustle, people come here and can spend time, work peacefully, and have a good time. I think that is a basic need right now, and we are missing on it.
Yeah. And I can see that your entire cafe is made out of wood, and it's not like some wallpaper, it's like real wood. It was so hard for us to even carry the chairs and rearrange for the podcast. So that's when we got to know, oh, this is real deal. A lot of cafes are concentrating so much on the aesthetics, the interiors, that some of them are really known for the aesthetics, but at the same time, the food isn't great, right? So this entire debate around spending so much on the interiors, do you think is it really needed? Because end of the day, the food is going to speak, right? End of the day, the food will speak, and the food will obviously spread good reviews about the cafe.
See, that's the story. Initially, when we thought of a theme for the cafe, we thought, okay, it's going to be woods. But then we did have the budget. We hired interior designing firms.
You had the budget.
We had the budget
Okay.
for the firms.
Oh,
So when we started, we segregated budgets for everything. We thought, okay, we're going to allot so much budget for machinery, so much budget for the furniture, so much budget for the rent. So we've done all that, and we did have budget for designing of the cafe. And it's not it's really expensive because they do a 2D first, they do a 3D, and then the whole firm comes in and they straight up go in lakhs.
yeah.
Like their quotes are in lakhs. So although we did have a budget, we've spoken to almost 2 or 3 firms, but they did not get our vision of putting wood on the walls. There was always an alternate option. Okay,
Yeah.
Instead of real wood is going to cost you.
A lot.
So use panels. There are panels that look exactly like wood. So you don't have to spend. So that was coming in just 1/4 of the expense. But like like how God spoke to people in the Bible, we were not convinced. We were not convinced with their ideas, their way of
Suggestions.
suggesting that, okay, use this, use that, do whatever is trending right now. They said go for that. But we did not like all that. We were very uncomfortable. Although it was, they are the professionals. They know what sells.
Yeah.
But one day we thought, okay, let's not hire anybody. We know what we need to do, so let's do it. And both of us didn't have any experience. Both of us didn't do any interior.
We never did any interior designing. We used to just come. This was a bare shell, and then we used to just come here, and we didn't know. Just hired some carpenters, and then we when we were praying, we had this vision of a wooden cafe. So there were so many cafes. Imagine if we have visited around 200 and 200
Yeah.
cafes only in the city, and then you have so many ideas, you've written down so many thoughts, but when you pray, there's something which is coming from God. Make a wooden theme cafe, and you don't find wooden theme cafes in Hyderabad, either in North India or the Northeast or anywhere in London or any other places you can see cafes like these. So we wanted to make this one in Hyderabad because I think we also felt, okay, this will be a unique concept. And God was giving us this idea. And every day we used to just come, just pray. And that's our prayer cabin behind. We used to just come. So that was not built, but we used to just come here, kneel down and pray every day. And we only decided we don't know what we are doing, but let's just pray and get guidance from God. And then God was guiding every day. Every day we used to come and then we used to just design, okay, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? And then I can see that I myself don't believe when I see the cafe. I keep sometimes looking at a few things and I feel that this is not we who did this. It was God was behind every piece of
interiors.
wood or anything what we did here. It was just God, and I believe Jesus was a carpenter.
This literally feels like it wasn't us building. It was God, like how God guided Noah to build an ark.
Yes.
And a lot of people actually came and said this actually looks like an ark because ark was also made out of wood and God carved that.
Yes.
So even for us, we feel like, okay, we don't want to take any credit, for the interiors, because a lot of people praise the interiors. They say it's so aesthetic and, there's no cafe like this. but really, it was God who built this. And we're not, I mean, people may think, okay, these guys are crazy. What are they talking? Like how
Yeah.
God built something.
Yeah.
But for us, this is our miracle. Like God built it. It wasn't us. He just kept guiding us. We didn't know it. Every day we literally like took a chalk and we drew like, okay, this is where the kids area is going to be.
Yeah.
This is where the counter is going to be. This is where the kitchen is going to be. So obviously that didn't come from us because we had no experience. It was just the flares that we did. And he just said one thing, God, just help us. Just send help. That's it. And then we started to see help coming in miraculous ways. So we finished making this cafe in 37 days.
Wow.
From bare shell. So there was no wiring for the place when we took it. So we had to literally like get the mains out and get the wiring done.
What kind of wood do you guys use? Is it like teak wood? What is it?
This is from Rajasthan. We love this wood. We went to one of the shops and we saw this wood and we loved this wood. And we thought, okay, we should get this, and we customized this and imported this from Rajasthan.
Wow.
This is shisham.
So that one is imported. The counter.
It's acacia wood.
But we have all kinds of wood. We have shisham, we have teak, we have pine.
Okay.
Brazilian
and
pine is-
we have mango wood. So all kinds of woods. But
How did you did you guys do some research on
see, that's the thing. To get to know all this information would take us years of research. But it wasn't us. It was just God who guided us. God showed us those places. One day we were just going in search of wood. We wanted a counter. We were very specific about our counter. So we went in search of wood. So while we were going, we were, because of traffic, we were detouring. And that's where we,
any disadvantages or any it's not easy maintenance, right?
Yes. So I think the maintenance is the only thing.
Do you guys regret?
Constant. No, not a bit. Because as much as it has to be maintained, we're also seeing miracles of how God is providing for that. And now we're at a place where if, God is taking care of this, then He's going to take care of it completely. We cannot, say, okay, we're surrendering this to God, but God, give me the wheel.
Yeah.
Like,
Nice.
so we have to give Him the wheel and just be there and instruments to, do whatever He tells us.
Yeah. It's very evident from the conversation that I had so far with you that both of you are very spiritual. But they generally say in a couple, one has to be very practical, and while the other has to be like the idealist. So who is the idealist and who is practical amongst you?
Yes, we do have. I think she's more practical, and I think even she is on the same level of faith. And then I also believe things where God can do wonders, and if you believe and trust. And I believe Christians should come out into businesses, because this is a world where it's growing really fast.
So actually, we do have a lot of differences, and to your question of both of us being spiritual, we're not very spiritual, but we're getting, we're learning every day. Spirituality is a growth.
Yeah.
Like nobody is spiritual. Everybody is learning.
Yeah.
We are also learning every day. We're learning it the hard way. We're learning it with kisses. We're learning it with everything.
Yeah.
But I think everyone needs to work on their spiritual life every day.
Yeah.
Because there's always something to learn. There's always something to grow. And coming to the differences we do, like, we're both different individuals as much as, our tastes and passions and all are common. While making this, we did we did have, a few arguments here and there. No, let's do this. No, let's do.
So you don't have it now? You had it only while making it. Okay.
It's a continuous thing. Like,
Yeah. No, I know you do, but I to make the conversation deeper, right? Yeah.
making this whole thing, like we thought, okay, furniture should be like this. We should have this kind of furniture. I was like, no, maybe we should do this. We should do that. But through all of that process, how we got through was, uh, we understood each other. We gave each other that, what do you call that?
Freedom.
Yeah, the freedom of doing what we want. So we called shots and certain things. Okay, he wanted to do the counter his way. Okay, you do it your way. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So we took. I mean, I think again that was just God guiding us, because in a worldly sense we would have fought like cats and dogs. Because I wanted things in a certain way and had to be in a certain way. And he wanted things in a certain way, it had to be in a certain way.
So are you guys like polar opposites or what?
No, we're
We agree on a lot of things.
I mean, apart from the
At the
business.
same time, we disagree also.
Okay.
Like every other couple, we have fights. We
Off the
we
business
trust, like,
thing,
each other.
everything. Yeah.
Everything is just the normal what they do, like any other couple. But what we decided is one thing is like, see, let any difference come. The only thing what we should do every day is just pray and ask God for guidance. We believe in that God has a vision for this place. And in case if we need to carry on that vision, we need to do it together. Yeah.
Yeah.
God has to be the center of everything. After you get married, you tend to understand each other, and then there are certain things which are possible, there are certain things which are not possible sometimes. And I think she started realizing how my behavior is, and I started realizing how her behavior is. So we still have issues with a lot of things, but what we do is we pray about it and always seek God's guidance. That is something what we learned in these few months, especially after starting this cafe. There are certain decisions she can take. There are certain sectors where I say that, okay, where I am good at and where my expertise in. And she honors that. And we've come to a common ground. So, because this is a bigger vision.
Yeah.
And I believe unless and until we are
Together on.
everything, at least we will have differences, but that's still fine. If we
Yeah.
come to a common ground,
Yes.
then sort out and talk about it, and then make sure that things should work.
Yeah.
And not bully each other to what she did, and because of that it failed. You can always pay, but you can always
Grow from it.
get back.
Yeah.
with God's
I-
guidance.
I think another thing what really clicked, while making this cafe and during everything, during the whole process of research, everything, even if something went wrong,
Yeah.
we didn't blame each other. We thought, okay, how are we going to fix that? What can we do? Because time was the essence for us.
Yeah.
We had to finish this cafe because we were already on rent. And our owners were gracious enough to, give us a 1 month's rent-free period to make the cafe, because it was a bare shell. Like there was no wiring and stuff. So he said, okay, you can do all of this, and then so we thought, okay, within 1 month we have to finish and start off. Please, still the rents are super expensive and all of that. So that's the timeline we had, and when when you're working on such timelines, there are things that can go wrong, and they can go wrong in angles that you haven't even imagined.
Okay.
So, in situations like that, I think it was God just guiding us, because the people that we were earlier, we could have taken it on our egos, or we could have taken it on, no, this is your mess, you clean it up. But God was, just, I think he was just speaking to us like every moment, telling, okay, this is what you need to do. There is something that went wrong. Okay, the carpenter didn't come today.
Yeah.
Lost Monday. What are we going to do? Okay, so the dwelling on why he didn't come, you should have been more stern on all of that. What we decided was, okay, let's use this day to go research on wood or research on some machines or do this or do that. So we didn't waste a minute. There were teams here working day and night. They put all floodlights and, we were working like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. So anything could have gone wrong there. There are so many things that, and it was just the both of us. There was no interference of family, no interference of friends, nothing. It was just the both of us deciding what to do. And I think that's you sometimes as a couple you come to a place where you say, okay, what is our bigger vision? And do we really need to mess this up to, to not reach that vision? Is the decisions that you need to take.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a very uncomfortable question. Okay, a very uncomfortable question. So you should not tell the number, but you should tell me how much did it cost to put up this entire thing. So without telling me how much you have invested in it, you should tell us how much you have. Like how many bungalows can you buy with that money, or how many, things like that.
I think I can only say one word. This is worth a villa in Hyderabad.
Oh my God, in which area?
In this area.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Do you think it's more than that? I think it's more than that.
I think it's more than that.
2 villas?
No, not even 2 villas. I think, not to brag about this, but the place, the ambience, everything. I think it matches up to the standards of big coffee shops, like
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah.
a lot of big giants.
Yeah.
And for what this is worth, this is like a company.
So it's worth.
Yeah, I think it's worth a company.
If you wanted to give that best experience, and coffee shops around the world, I've been from Curated, and then the experience what a coffee shop can give, I think no other place can give.
Yeah.
Because you're not serving alcohol here, just coffee.
Yeah.
Still, people are really, I feel that they love any coffee shop, or if the ambience, or especially the experience what you give to a customer is good. So people come for experiences. And I believe that God have made this place in such a beautiful way that only when you come to this place you can experience. You can just see photos and videos. You might not understand. It's about the vibe this place can give you. And first thing, when people step in, they experience peace. That's which is missing in a lot of places. And I believe that when you go to some place, main thing what you need to have in that place, apart from the food or ambience or anything, you should be able to sit there for hours. If you can't even sit there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I think you haven't made a good place. But when people come here, they spend hours. We always wondered, why are people sitting 4 to 5 hours in a street?
Yeah.
And they just be themselves, and then they come here, they have so much of fun.
And I see that people are working also here.
Yes, they keep working, they keep meeting people. After this, they come here.
I think in one of the days recently, there was a couple who was sitting here, and I would just happen to, overhear their conversation. They were talking to their friends on the phone. They were sitting in a really good cafe. You have to see this place. They called them.
Wow.
Like right when they were here. So moments like that, these are the rewards that we get, for all the hard work. All the, things that we've been through. These subtle things, these small conversations, they hit us, and then they say, okay, somebody is out there liking this place.
Nice. Yeah. So you were talking about, like when I asked you about tell us how much you have invested without telling us how much you've invested. So you told us that you can buy, villa in this area. And this area is a very expensive area. So why did you guys even choose this place?
There were so many people who actually insisted, when you're investing so much money, why don't you buy something? A villa or some, why don't you invest on house?
Get a home
Get a
for
place,
yourself.
sell it, and then we stay in a rented place now.
Oh.
Okay. So they said, like, why don't you invest? And then they said, this is, but we wanted to build a home for everybody. If we built a home for ourselves, we just
Probably
be
be
both of us and our children. But this is a place where we believe everybody can come. They can just be themselves, hang around, spend some time, have some fellowship. I always talking about fellowship.
Yeah.
And as humans, we need a lot of people around us. We are social animals. And slowly, if you see, looking at a lot of the social media, people are backing down to meet each other because they're so busy on social media that you don't get time to meet each other now. So everything happens online.
Yeah.
Even you meet friends online, you talk to them online, you like their post, and then you feel that you're in touch. But I feel that that's actually not
Staying in
never
yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
We were meant to be together. We were meant to have fellowship. We were meant to have friends, family around us, had some good time. And I think there were days earlier we always used to talk, and I still talk about that. When we were young, we used to just meet people. There were no phones. Just people used to come to a common place, meet there at a certain time, and then go back. And they just know that you can meet him when you go to this common place. So this place, Ruth's Cafe, has to be a common ground to everybody who can just come around, meet people here. And then this place has to be a place where when you come inside, I think you should leave all your differences out. Come in, have fun, and go back with a new experience.
leave all your guns out.
The story behind choosing this particular area to set up your cafe. How did you guys even decide on Gachibowli?
We've been here, I think, more than 5 years. Earlier, we were in Secunderabad, but we moved here because we were working with one of the companies here. So ever since then, we've noticed a lot. So again, research is always at the back of our heads when it comes to business. So we've seen businesses evolving only in this area. Most of the time, businesses in this area are flourishing. Especially such a very risky business like a cafe, where there is no alcohol to attract, most of the crowd. And then, you're getting coffees, you're getting all these continental foods. Again, there's no heavy stuff like heavy South Indian stuff.
Yeah.
Very tricky business. So we decided, okay, if we have to survive, we cannot put it anywhere else. It has to be in the prime location.
Yeah.
But even in prime locations, there are expensive places, there are lesser expensive places. So we kept looking around, this whole area, Banjara Hills, Jubilee Hills, around, from Begumpet to this side of town. That's where we done a lot of research.
And you chose a very expensive place.
Yes, there's a story to that. So one day we came into this lane. We saw a big tulip board, and we saw the place, and we said, okay. Because by then we already knew the rates of, they go by square feet. So how many ever square feet your place is, that much.
What's the square feet of the cafe?
So this is about 3,200 square feet.
Including the kitchen?
Including.
Including everything.
Lovely. Yeah.
When we saw this place, we were like, this is way out of our budget. So let's not even
think about it.
Let's not even go. Let's not get out of the car. We just saw that, okay, fine, it's a good place. Whoever takes it is very, blessed.
Yeah.
But again, we continue to look around places. But then we were just drawn to this place. Oh, every day, the moment we start going, to different, to look around for different places, we're again drawn to this place. So every day we used to be like, you know what, let's go and see if it's still taken, if it's still there or if it's taken. But it was there. And we were like, okay, there's no harm in just going and talking to the owners,
Yeah.
seeing how much, try and negotiate, see if they can come down. They did not come down, but they are very good, very, very generous owners. And the way that they spoke to us, they're the ones who will not just rent it out for anybody. But the moment they saw us and, we came as a family, we came with our kids, and they saw us and they spoke to us, they asked us, because every time you rent out a place, they ask for your income and, what you're doing. They ask for your background and do you have experience in F&B? We were very honest with them. We told them that, we're working. Right now, both of us are working in a corporate and we're just starting off. We told them that, he had some experience earlier, but this is the first big project that we're doing. And ideally, they could have rejected us, but somehow they were like, they were so generous that, they didn't reduce like the amount that we were expecting, but they did reduce a little. And that's how, again, God blinded us, because in the worldly sense, we couldn't have afforded, this place in this area. Because there are a lot of big places that could be, easily taken in other areas. But this area, especially with the parking, the lane, the commute, the public transport and stuff, everything worked out so well. That was, I think it was just God's guidance that brought us here and just placed us here. He prepared this place right from the beginning, because the owners didn't even give it to anybody. There were a lot of people who even offered to pay more than what we were paying right now. But somehow they, they had favor over us, and I think it was just God's doing. And that's how we found this place. And everybody who walks in, they're like, how did you get this place? How did you get such a big place in the prime location? Because honestly, it's very difficult to get places now in the city.
Especially with parking. Parking is one of the
With
biggest
parking
problems around
and-
this area.
But you
And
have
they have
good parking.
Yeah,
We have good parking. We've got parking enough for at least 30 cars at once. And we're also very we also have a wheelchair access. So we have a ramp that goes down, and then through the lift they can come and enter the back door. So we're trying to work with a lot of organizations where we can get people. So there are a few organizations where they have people in wheelchairs, coming for interviews. So we're very soon going to host that. I think God chose this place keeping everything in mind.
Everybody should come to this place. Okay. So both of us worked with person with disability hiring in one of the companies, the last company what we worked with. And our heart goes out for them. And we believe that everybody should get that equal opportunity to enjoy and have fun and then have good time. So we chose a few things and then we made certain changes so that even as she was telling, wheelchair access also there, and then people can come. There's a ramp which goes down. And
When it comes to ministering, especially to people who cannot travel, like the elderly, people with disabilities, we're trying to create a space where they can also come. A lot of people go to an outreach, they go to old age homes, they go to orphanages. But why not get them here? because that's our vision. Like, every time, even during Christmas, a lot of churches do a lot of outreaches. A lot of companies do CSR activities.
Yeah.
But it's always like, going to the place that they are there.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's not much of a difference. Okay, I'm going to get a gift. I'm going to get, food or whatever. But I'm still there. I'm still in the same place. I'm still in those four walls.
Yeah.
So I think it's time for people to initiate people.
Experience.
Giving them an experience more than, just giving them monetary gifts and whatever. Give them an experience. Maybe in their life, they wouldn't have, visited a cafe. All these small children in the orphanages, like, bring them out, give them an experience. It's easy. Just hire a transport, like hire a bus, put all the children in the bus, bring them here. Because the joy that you see in their faces when they come, to a cafe, when they come to a coffee shop, it's different for them because they're out of their homes.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to focus even, the next 2 months, where there is a lot of outreach. We want to ask people, instead of going and giving them, the same amount, the same budget that you have, bring them here. And
In fact, we have one of the churches bringing their kids. They work with these underprivileged kids. So there are 100 kids who would be coming soon this week. And we wanted to host them and then make them some nice snack boxes. Make sure that they have fun, some games and all these things.
Yeah.
Planning that this
Yeah. So you chose a continental cuisine, right? So I was talking to people who come with a lot of experience. So during our conversations, he mentioned that, in this time and age, everybody wants that authentic Indian food, like the southern style pulavs. And if you see, they're thriving, although they just offer food that we cook at home or for weddings, things that we cook at home or for the weddings. But why did you choose a continental cuisine? Why didn't you think of any South Indian restaurant where you'll every day have business? Because not everybody likes continental. Some of them call it bland and whatnot.
True.
Yeah.
So I think initially, because it's a cafe, and most of the cafes go with continental.
So you always wanted to put cafe on it?
Yeah, the cafe, and we went with the continental food. But recently, I think we understood how the market is, and then because we spoke to a lot of people who came here and said every day eating continental food might be tough because our office is around.
Yeah.
They said if you can give us some good South Indian meals. So it's been 1.5 months that we started South Indian meals for lunch, and then we're doing very good. People
Nice.
have it because we make it very homely. Okay,
Yeah.
just rice, dal, or some curry, and we give them an omelette with it, some curd, and then pickle and all these things. How we want to eat, we want to feed people like same.
Yeah.
So every day we eat the same food.
So although it was always a coffee shop, we are not sticking to the traditional continental menu. We've added Chinese into it. We've added Indian rice bowls into it.
Veggies.
So now we take biryani by orders as well. Any other restaurant, like even if you open a South Indian restaurant or a biryani point like Paradise,
Yeah.
it's always about the food. It's not about the experience. So that is where we stuck to a cafe, because in a cafe you have the freedom of giving them a very casual experience.
Yeah.
It's not just about, okay, rush in, come, order, eat food. You don't even like talk to people sometimes. Sometimes people are just like, everybody is on the table on their phones and just eating and then just get up, walk out. So in this age where everybody is so addicted to their phones, to their laptops, just working online, it doesn't have to be dangerous. But at the same time, it's too much of screen, and people are starting to meet people online, talk to people online and just get over with, But then that's how we're losing humanity. We're losing the human touch, and that's why we're very deliberate in showing the experiences that people have in this cafe more than the food and the coffees, because we're confident that our kitchen will do that. So what we want to show out in the world is come here and celebrate friendship, celebrate your relationships with people, or just come have a quiet time. You can come sit and read a book. Our cafe is spacious, so you can sit in one corner and still not be disturbed. So, and then we have workstations. People can come here and work. So we're trying to bring in every kind. You can come here for the quiet. You can come here for the chaos. On the weekend. So weekdays it's quiet. People come here. People work. People have meetings here.
People, if they want to spend time, I think time is the most precious thing right now. We live in a world where people are just running and people can't even wait a minute on the traffic signal. 30 seconds, you can't wait. But if people are coming here and sitting for hours, 4-5 hours, and they forget their time and they just want to spend with their loved ones or
It's from here.
yeah, I think you should also have time apart from work. You should also hang around. It shouldn't be monotonous, like, okay, every day you come here, half an hour you spend and then you go. If you're in a place you like, sit there for hours. You do something, you read, you sing, or you play there. We have some games also, board game. They have games for all the elderly people also. We keep them engaged. And then mostly talking to them, okay, talking to them about their lives or whatever they're comfortable. And I think giving that experience and then giving that human touch is very important right now for people. You never know. Somebody can come alone and just sit for hours. He might be going through a lot, but one word from you, one good word from you, I think it's beautiful. And I think my daughter Jessica, she made some notes. Okay, she gives all the customers notes.
So cute.
Like, yeah. So she writes it herself and then she gives to every customer whoever comes. And then I've seen people reading that note and then they felt so happy. They felt apt for themselves. Okay, because you never know what they might be going through. Let them come and then feel like home here.
Yeah.
And I think, in this very instant world where people need groceries in 10 minutes, where people need, rapidos in 5 minutes, what we're trying to do is trying to create a space where people can slow down here, have some peace, relax. The world out there is so chaotic and so hectic. And we've seen that because we were here for almost 5 years and we worked in situations like that where there was so much of pressure, so much of obligation to do a lot of things. So we want this place. I mean, even the reason why people sit for hours is because it's peaceful. And that's what they say. That's not what we are asking here. We say that it's peaceful. And if they want some of that peace, then we're here to support. I think if we are full of tables, we'll probably, try renting up the space. But yeah, as long as they find peace and long as they're billing, that's fine.
I mean, what do you guys have on your menu? I know it's continental food, but I've also seen that although it is quite elaborate, but there are few dishes, continental dishes that you have not included. So I'm pretty sure there is a reason why you chose whatever dishes that you chose. For example, pretzels and this kind of European thing, which comes under continental, if I'm not wrong, they're not included in the menu. But the pastas, pizzas, the steaks, burgers, and so many sizzlers, so these things. So is there any reason why you chose this particular dish or these dishes in particular?
See, we wanted to keep it very simple. Okay, the food, whatever you order, I think we wanted we didn't want to make it jazzy or the names to be looking, and then you give yeah, for a dal rice, I can say that oh, you can have this and this is made out of it, and we just wanted to keep it very simple. South Indian meals, you get dal rice and curd and whatever.
Yeah.
Pizzas, basically these are the pizzas, and all these things. So we didn't include a lot of other things. Maybe we'll plan to include. Right now we're working on different menu also. We wanted to. So we're learning from our experiences, and I believe that we need to be a specialty in something. Okay, and we're doing what we are good at. So our pizzas are really good. They make amazing pizzas. If you look at the coffees,
Yeah.
are amazing. Okay, and if you look at burgers or any other the pastas and all these things, so whatever we are good at, we just wanted to keep that, and we wanted to make sure that any experience or any food a customer wants, it should be really good, and it should taste well and fresh, and it should be so good that he should love and he should come back for the same thing. Just putting jazzy names or including so many dishes and then confusing people what to order. I think you go to a place because you like one dish.
Yeah.
I eat one ice cream almost every day, and I don't want to even switch to another thing.
Do you guys have your lunch here? Like you guys eat just food only? I did not board.
No, we don't eat the continental food.
That is
So
what I was
that
telling
is where our South Indian meals are gone. So there was one day where we were sick of tasting continental and eating because we had to spend a lot of time here. So what we did was we asked our staff to make us just rice and dal and just some fry, some veg fry, just veg. Like he didn't want non-veg, and we're very pure non-vegetarians. Like that was a sin for us to go out and eat vegetarian.
Yeah, if you're going out, it has to be, yeah.
Has to be non-veg. And now I think it's in every household now that, unless there's chicken or any, at least an egg, you're not going to eat that. So most of them are now used to non-veg that we were sick of that. And then we started the meals. And then when the customers came and saw, so we have our food here. We don't have it in the cabin separately. Like we just sit with, we want to be there with the customers. So we sat and we were eating rice and dal, and the customers saw that and they were like, "Can we have that?" So there was so impromptu. We said, "You know what? If they want the plate, just give them." We had rice, we had dal, we had veg fry, and minimal charge. We charge just about 149 for a meal, and we give them rice, dal. We give them a veg fry. We give them curd. If they want an omelette, we give them that. And then there is pickle and fries and, the whole South Indian meal. So that's how it started. But then there is a deliberate, there's also another angle to why our menu is like this. Like you mentioned, you said you didn't include all these Europe. We did think about it. And that's the first thing I thought about. Croissants, bagels, donuts, all of these. But the thing is, what I found was, and we did have those right at the beginning. The first month when we started, we had our counters full of, donuts, and we even tried bagels once. But the thing is, all of this stuff, and we're trying to promote steaks with sauteed vegetables and mashed potato. Trying to promote, salads. We're trying to promote this. One of the reasons why is because we don't want our customers also to eat unhealthy. As much as they want to go to a cafe where they get like all these, probably their cheat day, they want to go to a cafe and indulge in all the, finest things. It's still somehow just harmful because donuts, bagels, all of these have just 1 day shelf life. And we're very strict about our shelf life. Like if it is just 1 day, we don't serve it the next day. So everything has to be taken out and then made fresh the next day.
So that's sort of money.
Yes. So that was one reason. Why? Because here in Hyderabad, people are not ready for bagels. They're not ready for donuts as much as it happens in the Western countries where it is a staple breakfast for them. We're not there yet. Here, people want dosas. People want
The same old pastas, and it's continental, yeah.
yeah. So we put items that you can indulge. We also put healthy items like steak and sizzlers and all, where you have small portions of everything. So you're enjoying the food at the same time you're maintaining your health.
Yeah.
Instead of just going all out and just enjoying one. But yeah, we are trying to improvise and see how we can accommodate that as well. If we have a crowd that needs that, then we're always ready to put that in.
Yeah. So you also uttered the word that you've done a lot of research, right? What kind of research and in what areas? And also, before that, I would like you to answer what is there in your menus.
I think beverages, we have all the coffee specialities and then all the mocktails and then smoothies. And basically, we added matchas and taros and bubble teas. Food, I think we have all the quick bite, like the French fries, chicken nuggets, and veg nuggets. And then we slowly move into steaks and then sizzlers and pizzas, burgers. Then we have pastas, and then we added Chinese and South Indian meals, and then we do biryanis also by orders, the mutton and chicken biryani. I think I claim that we make the best biryani in whole of Hyderabad.
Okay.
You should try our mutton biryani and chicken biryani. I'm telling you, after you try at Ruth's Cafe, you will not eat anywhere.
Okay.
I'm honest about it, and I'm a great biryani lover.
Okay.
I travel places to eat biryanis, and then I somehow found one vendor.
Ruth, I hear you get a lot of biryani orders now.
So we have done amazing biryani. People who have eaten this biryani once, they ordered for 100 plus people.
Mutton or chicken?
Both are really good, and I believe mutton is better than chicken, because I think mutton was really well with biryani.
Yeah. So what about your staff? The chefs, and if you can just give me a glimpse into your staff, how many people and how many chefs do you have? How many baristas?
Yeah, so we have about 3 baristas now. We're increasing. We're hiring now. So
Yeah, I've seen an opening on your social media. Yeah.
yes, Facebook. So we're trying to increase our staff. Right now, we're working with 3 baristas, and we had 3 chefs. So we have a head chef. His name is Srinivas, and he does some amazing dishes. All the food that you get is under his leadership.
Yes.
So and then we have 2 sous chefs.
Okay.
And then we have some housekeeping. And
What do you mean by sushi?
so these chefs are basically under the head chef. So
Okay.
they are
basically
also chefs.
specialty chefs of
Junior chefs, you can call them junior.
Right.
So the different, I can say the language here always
Yeah.
F&B as commis ones or commis twos and sous chefs, executive chef,
Oh
head
my
chef,
goodness,
and
yeah.
So these are the grades
Levels
basically
that they
levels
have.
depending on experience and where they work.
So hiring for us was I mean, we knew the game. We knew, okay, there are going to be portals that have these resumes. Let's directly go there. So we knew how to hire. It's just that we didn't know who to hire.
Yeah.
Like we didn't know, okay, a place like this needs at least 3 or 2 baristas, needs 2 stewards. The kitchen needs about 3 chefs. So all of this was learned through experience. Like initially we were overstaffed. We had I think 5 people in the kitchen. We've had 2 interns. We've had so many people outside. again, we didn't let go of anybody. This industry, they just keep going. We did let go of certain people that they were not qualified to do it, although we gave them a chance. But again, it's about, for us, it's about, again, keeping the standards on par with other F&B industries. So there was a lot of shuffling of chefs, of the baristas, of the stewards, and so right now, again, we're growing our team. As much as we're doing fine now, I think it's time for us to grow our team, and that's how we're adding in more people into each department.
Even we were talking about bakers also, right? So her sister, she's a very good baker. And I think
So
the past
she has
8 years,
her
I think
own
we've been eating,
company.
I've been eating her desserts, and I kept encouraging and I've been asking her to bake for us. And I think she does a real good job, especially the cakes. And there's one of a grandma's dish called caramel pudding. I think she's so good at that. You should try.
Apart from her, I think there's another baker also,
Yes.
right?
We also have an in-house baker.
See, I did research. I know.
We've had that, but right now,
He's on a break.
he's on a break right now. But we're taking it from my sister's company, so we're trying to include, people of the same profession.
And she does everything organic and so healthy stuff.
No
And
preservatives.
no preservatives.
That's why our shelf lives are very like 1 day, 2 day. There are no preservatives. So we'll have to make sure that there is fresh stock coming in, fresh stock going out. And because it's my sister, and sometimes she's very dominating. No, not today. I'm like, no, it has to be today.
Okay.
All these things. So many things that go behind the scenes of what people look at here. But then I think all of this is only possible through God. Otherwise, both of us, I think, just both of us handling all of these departments is actually impossible.
I have two questions following up to what both of you said. So the first one is, about the preservatives. So I went into your kitchen and I've seen the fridge. I thought your fridge will be flooded with vegetables. There are veggies and everything in the fridge, but it's not like how I thought. It's clear that you guys buy fresh and every day, right? So so what do you guys do with the rest of the things? So it's like a wastage only.
There's definitely a lot of
Lot.
wastage,
Okay.
but we're working on how to control that wastage. What we do is we try to figure out how the inventory is every day. I check the inventory, and we have an inventory report and how much is spent and what is spent and what is not. Okay, and then we try to order in small quantities on a daily basis, and we try to even get fresh food. Okay, and fresh vegetables and all. We don't want to stock the
Yeah.
meat or the vegetable.
Yeah,
Anything.
that-
Then what happens? When you
Yes.
stock. So
And a
much.
lot of cafes, for the burgers they use for
The
soya
same.
patties, right? Like, we've done that earlier because that's how the industry works. But what we found out was when we're eating the burger, we were not satisfied. We thought, okay, we're going to come, and if we're going to sit in a coffee shop like this, the food will have to be exceptional. So then we tried different things, and then we thought, okay, let's try fresh meat. So what we do now is we don't take the frozen patties that, people regularly do. What we do is we buy fresh mince, from the butcher shop. And then we make our own patties, and then we serve the burgers. So
it's all
fresh
100% meat.
fresh meat. We're also trying to be more organized in the kitchen. So we have labels. So we have, in the fridge, like you can see what's in the fridge because it's
Yeah.
transparent.
Basically, F&B is all about consistency.
Okay.
So any dish you eat and the next day you come to eat the same dish,
It should taste the
it
same.
should taste the same, and I think it should also be good or look the same. I believe, and then So we are working on that consistency, and we want to make sure that we give the same taste.
What are the 3 dishes or drinks that you would recommend a newcomer to order from your place?
So I think I'm going to answer that in two perspectives, one
Yeah.
from the customer side and one from the business side. So from the business side, I would say in the appetizers, I'm not going to suggest anything heavy. Uh, anything light like French fries would they, because I want them to taste my main course.
Okay.
So if you're going to give them a heavy appetizer, they might not go for the main course. So give them a light appetizer, because I mean it depends on what the customer wants as well. Do they want an appetizer and then a meal and then a dessert? Do you want the full course, or do you want just a meal and a beverage? Depending on what they want,
Yeah.
I think I would suggest the first thing would be steaks. Our steaks and our sizzlers, pizzas are fine, but keeping the customer in mind, I would suggest
Yeah.
leave the carbs out, eat the protein, eat the vegetables. That's it. I mean, it tastes good. It's also healthy.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win there.
Yeah. What about you, James?
Yeah, I think both of us, what we do is we talk to the customer first. What are their preferences? What would they love to have? And that either that cheat day, or are they more into dieting or something, where we want to suggest them about some saute vegetables or steaks, or if kids are there, pizzas are good. They would love our French fries with the dips and all these things. So depending on every customer, we speak to them and we understand, and then we suggest them. Okay, and most of the times I think they liked it. And our coffees, we ask them to try at the end, because when you drink a coffee, you can't go ahead and it kills your appetite. So you ask them first order this, and then after that you go ahead and order some desserts or coffee. So I think that way it's working good.
Yeah. So, what is the customer retention rate like? Are there people revisit?
Yes. We do have a batch that visits us, regularly. We have I think a few batches now.
A few people, they don't go home without visiting the cafe every day.
For the customer's benefit, we're also coming up with a loyalty program that they have certain discounts. Being a regular customer, so we're working on that, and we're working with a lot of other things that can. I mean, we're always improvising. Every day we come and see, okay, what can we improvise? What can we do? Where can we add something? Where should we take out something that's not working? So. I think the menu in F&B is always changing. While some of your dishes are consistent, you always have to improvise. Go with this, because people want different things. They want to go to a same place, but they want to try out different things. Because if I'm a regular to a cafe, I don't want to just order a steak every time, or I just don't want to order French fries every time. I want to try something new. So. While these are all very common dishes, we're trying to improvise, trying to see how it can taste better, how without, keeping in consideration the health benefits as well. So, while we were on our way to the cafe, I just got a collab request on our Instagram page, and I looked at the video, and it was it was a listing of cafes where they're being awarded for most accessible wheelchair cafes.
Oh, so
Stuff like that, where it's in a category where it can cater to people of special needs and people with disabilities, the elderly. So I felt like out of all these events that are happening, that's something really nice, because we can tap into crowds where it's unreachable, where there are so many places where all these people cannot go and enjoy and sit and have a peaceful time. So I'm really glad that we're included in that category where we're so accessible even to people in wheelchairs and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I've also seen that you have a lot of frames over there. So what are they?
Those are all basically all the licenses what we require for.
So you have all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, every standard that needs to be met, the certification. So we've got everything done even before we've inaugurated the cafe. So we wanted to be sure of well, of following all the standards, all the protocols that needs to be done. We some of these licenses are expensive, but that's something that you need to have. Like a lot of people, like, and we found out through experience as well. Like, what a lot of people, they don't even know that you cannot play secular songs without a license in a public place.
Yeah.
So we've got that license as well. So we can do shows that can be like of a cover or any sort of a theme. We can play. We have researched again on so many licenses that needs to be there so that nothing goes wrong. In a place like this.
Yeah. What does your typical day look like? What are the timings? When does it open and end? And what does your typical day look like?
I think we start from 7 a.m. in the morning and
Wow.
we are here till 11 p.m. in the night. Okay.
People can start coming from 7 a.m.?
7 a.m. Yeah, we do breakfast. So we have all the breakfast like Johnny English, or we are doing dosas also. There's one special dish, a grandma's dish. Okay, dosa and palli chutney, and that's my favorite basically to try that.
The old classic.
Yeah, we do all the breakfast and then lunch and dinner up to.
So we have pancakes for breakfast. We have the English breakfast. We have bread and toast and different kinds of omelets. So so we start from 7 in the morning and we're open till 11, 12 in the night. So we're moving our timings to 12 now because this area, a lot of people are coming late nights after their offices and stuff. So we're trying to keep it open, and that's why we need our staff in 2 shifts. So we're trying to increase, our staff to cater to everybody. And so
you guys don't have any lunch break or anything?
Yeah, so our day basically starts. So we come around 8:39 in the morning. Okay, and we sometimes stay little late night till like 12. By the time we go home, it'll be 1.
Do you guys have any team conflicts in your team, like in the team?
Oh, there are.
Yeah, every business has that, and every company has conflicts, and every team that is how. But we try to have everyday meetings, talk to them. That is how our day goes. When we come here, we gather all the staff, and both of the shifts meet. Then we try to gather everybody, and we talk to them about what needs to be changed and how they need to work together as a team. And working individually, I think if somebody is good at something, it works in a while. But teamwork is something you can teach everybody. And
Yeah.
especially I was talking about consistency, right? That can only come if the other person can teach the next person the same recipe and how he made. And that's the reason we have all the recipes printed and put it in the kitchen, so that even if the chef changes, the consistency is the same.
Yeah.
We make sure we maintain the same form.
Yeah.
Actually, in all honesty, some of the conflicts are because of us, because of the owners. Because apparently in this industry, the language is different. Like in F&B, people scream like crazy. Like something goes wrong, like the manager, the owners, like they shout, like they treat people so bad, but because they want to get the work done. But the way our leadership works is like we're saying please, we're saying sorry, we're saying, could you please? Every time they come and serve, we say thank you. Now, so for our staff, it was very different. And they keep on telling us, like, we worked in so many different places. We've never had owners like
Nice.
so everywhere possible, we're trying to show, God's love and how, I mean, we do get the work done. We have to be stern where we have to be. We have to correct when we have to correct. We have to question where we have to question. But at the same time, there is a way of doing it. instead of doing it the worldly way, we just thought, let's just do it how we are supposed. Because we did face a lot of criticism on, you guys are too friendly with the staff. You guys are, not stern about rules and stuff like that. We give them a lot of freedom to as long as the food is good, the coffees are good, it's going on time, everything is sorted. They're free to do, what they want to. And so, yeah, there are certain checks that we keep, like timings and stuff, but otherwise, yeah.
So, where do you see yourself as in Roots Cafe in the next 5 years? And what is the legacy that you want to leave?
Right at our inauguration, our pastor who came to inaugurate the cafe, he declared that there are going to be a lot of branches of this cafe. And back then we were thinking, okay, this itself is like too much for us. Like, how are we even going to open another branch?
Yeah.
But now that we know of the vision and what we're trying to bring the church out into the world, and also catering to a very common place. I mean, this has multiple things that you can take out of, Roots Cafe. Like when we're encouraging young people to get into businesses, we're trying to host, a lot of events. We're trying to, basically our dream is to have people come here and have this as a meeting spot, irrespective of whichever church you belong to, whichever denomination you belong to. Just this place is open for everybody, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your faith. As long as, they're having events that goes along with our vision, that's fine. But probably in 5 years, we want to open more cafes like this where, we want to replicate whatever we're doing here in every branch that we open. And yeah, that's our vision method to write.
I think we want to go worldwide. Okay, that's definitely my dream, and it is possible if God is backing this off, and I believe He has great plans. Yeah, His plans are way bigger than our plans.
Yeah.
As the heavens are higher than the earth, plans are way bigger than us. So next 5 years, you want to see a branch out of India.
Oh, wow. Ruth, what do you have to say to that?
Sounds scary, but at the same time, I think that could be prayed for. So we just have to prepare ourselves.
Yeah, and the legacy that you would want to leave to the younger generation, or if there is anybody who, wants to get into this business, any advice regarding finances or whatever?
I think one advice which will not go according to the logical sense is just depend on God. I mean, He's the one who created all of this. So He knows what works, what doesn't work. So I think our safest bet is to not rely on your specialities, not the food, not the best coffees, not the ambience, but I think just depend on God and do what, God says. Probably what you thought of. I just wanted to open a coffee shop, but God had different plans for this. So He's working through my dream.
Yeah.
To do what He wants to do. So I think we just need to depend on God.
Yeah.
And the legacy, as you asked, I think we definitely want to share our dream with our children.
Yeah.
And they can inherit this and continue the vision. I think it'll be amazing. And I already see that happening with my daughter.
Okay.
So involved in the cafe. She's part of our reels, and then she talks to the customers, gift and some notes, and then she likes what we are doing. So she's building that up. And I encourage people to get into businesses. Okay. Don't, even if you fail, that's fine. But at least try.
Because there's always this discussion regarding Christians shouldn't do business. Not many do it.
I think more than ever during these end times, I think we should come out into the market. We should stand bold. And I mean, who said, like, we're not supposed to have something big? While every other company is growing big, why not us?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's the vision, like, just just be there and
Yeah.
daring enough to, take certain steps.
Yeah. Any advice?
Uh, I believe that on finances especially, see, business is all about arranging your finances properly. Always make sure you have surplus and then get into the business. And if you're planning or a certain amount, always make sure you have the double of it and then get into it, because there will be so many expensive, and then most of things run on money. And if you're running short of money, I think sometimes it dries. The vision also dries. So vision backed up with proper finances, proper planning will get you where you want to be.
All right. So we have come to the end of the show, but this is not the end. We have a rapid fire. So it's going to be full of fun, is what I think. That's my aim. Your answers should be rapid and it should be full of fire. Who is the CEO and who is the intern at home?
See you.
Wow. Here? Oh, yeah.
See you.
Okay. What's more stressful, handling customers or handling machine breakdowns?
I think handling customers,
Okay.
Yeah. I think for me, both is what happens if the customer's taken care of, but your machine is broken.
Okay. If God ordered a drink or any savory at Ruth's Cafe, what do you think he would order?
I think he would order our Biscoff cappuccino, which is our bestseller. And I think he'll be the kind who'll order a steak, because it goes well with the fish and the fish and the
Good, smart. You should beat that answer now.
I think I would suggest him to eat our dosas and paliche. That's my favorite.
Okay. If your love story was a coffee, what would it be called?
cranberry espresso.
Nice. What about you?
Biscoff cappuccino. The sweetest.
Okay. What is the one thing that annoys you about each other, but it is also secretly cute?
Our OCD about everything to be in place.
That's annoying, but you find it cute.
Things have to be perfect sometimes.
Yeah.
And it cannot be shabby.
I think for what's annoying
I
about
need to be quick. This is a rapid fire.
Exactly.
see, that's a compliment. I'm still thinking for the okay. But yeah, so many things that annoy me. I'm just trying to figure out which one is the most annoying.
Okay, tell us the most, but cute.
The most annoying is when I try to discipline the children and he pampers them.
But you find it cute.
Yeah, I find it cute because some
Balancing.
it's a around, but
Yeah.
the discipline is still pending.
If you had to rename Ruth's Cafe after a Bible character, or if you would like to invite any Bible character to Ruth's Cafe, only one, okay? Who would it be and why?
The roots. Roots. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have the exact same thing. Like without a doubt, I would still name it Ruth's Cafe. Although, like I don't like like it because it's my name. But yeah, I would invite Ruth here.
Okay. Which one of you secretly misses the AC office and free Wi-Fi?
Both the house.
He's answered it to you. What is the funniest thing that your customer has ever said to you?
I think the funniest thing is
I think one of the customers said Ritu's Cafe.
there's a lot of people cannot pronounce the name Ruth properly.
Yeah.
But one of the funniest things where somebody asked me, what's your full name? I said Ruth Israel. And they asked me, are you from Israel? And it just blew my mind off like that.
Okay, who apologizes first after a fight? He's so confident. He's like, she will agree anyway. Okay. Who spends more time decorating coffee than drinking it, or styling the food than eating it?
Me.
Awesome. That's it. We have a small gift for you, a hamper. We had a great time, and I hope you guys had a great time. Thank you so much for coming to our show.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, CCD for hosting us, and thank you so much for sharing our story.
Thank you. We're so blessed to have you. So that's it for today, guys. We will see you with another episode very soon. And until then, keep watching Can't Count Them.